Welcome to Essential Ingredients. This episode is one in a 6-part series spotlighting the intersection of Dine and Design.
Good afternoon and welcome to Dine and Design. I'm your host, Justine Reichen, with my co-host here, Bridget Cooper. And we're pleased to have you here today, Matt Dees, winemaker.
It's lovely to be here. Thanks for doing this. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
It's such a beautiful spot. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm super excited to be here with you today and learn about your wine and what you're working on today. So can you tell everybody where we are and what wine we're tasting here today?
Yeah, sure thing. So we are on the Mount Carmel Vineyard in the beautiful Santa Rita Hills in gorgeous Santa Barbara County. I mean, life is good.
Can't get better.
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of one of the most important qualitative vineyards, and historically speaking, one of the most important vineyards in the Santa Rita Hills. And we're actually, specifically, we're in Block 2, Pinot Noir.
What does Block 2 mean?
It's one of the blocks. There are 6 blocks on the property. Block 2 is Pinot Noir. You are drinking the Chardonnay, obviously, 2017. I'm drinking the Pinot 17. But the whole property is really, we'll walk it and talk it, but it's made up of these 6 parcels that really act kind of like puzzle pieces and fit together perfectly.
And I'm sorry, I was just going to say for listeners and viewers that are not familiar with, what's the name of this winery?
Yes, so the name of the vineyard is the Mount Carmel Vineyard, and the estate program of the Mount Carmel Vineyard, meaning the one that the owners of the vineyard work on and the fruit goes to and we kind of keep ourselves, is called Mail Road. The road, we drove in, that long, winding, very slow road to get here, is called Mail Road. I don't know why historically, but it is. And the Mail Road project started in 2012, and we've had the pleasure, I'm incredibly honored to make the home wines of this vineyard.
Okay, so I want to just know, how did we get here? How did you get here? What was your journey getting to this Mail Road vineyard?
Super typical, right? I grew up in Kansas City. I always call it the fine winemaking Mecca. I grew up loving plants always. I always was a kid who just, people made sense, but plants almost made more sense. They're wonderful systems. They're wonderful the way that they react. Plants make sense. I went to University of Vermont, another fine wine growing Mecca, and ended up getting into plant and soil science. Planted a vineyard in Vermont ages ago, 1997, and just fell in love with it. I've been making wine and growing grapes ever since.
Wow, so you always wanted to be a winemaker since you studied plants and
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think in the schools in Europe and whatnot, right? You have to choose for your high school, in essence, almost what you want to be, right?
Right.
I want to go into engineering. I want to go into mathematics. I want to go into sciences. I want to go into these. In the U.S., I think we have kind of the blessing to say, I don't know what I want to do. I'm going to go into liberal arts. I'm going to go and do these wonderful things and figure myself out. I had no idea I wanted to make wine. I mean, I grew up drinking. I don't want to talk about what I grew up drinking. It wasn't fine wine.
Cask wine.
Cask wine on a good day, on a special occasion. But I found it when I was 18. I was very fortunate, really blessed to say, get bit by the bug, as we say. You get bit by the wine bug and you fall in love with the grape and you dance that dance. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty great, because at 18, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Did you know?
No, I just moved to New York hoping that I'd figure it out, but no plan at all.
I think that's better, though. I mean, I think it's better to spend your life and finally, take your time to figure out where you're going.
I'm not even sure I knew what I wanted to do at 28.
I'm still figuring it out.
That's fine.
I'm not even sure I knew it at 38.
The day is young. The day is young.
Matt, when you're designing Mail Road, where you're putting all the grapes and everything, how do you decide this is the lot 2? Pinot, how do you...
I wasn't here when it was planted. This is what we would call historic in Santa Barbara. Albeit, you look at history in Europe and you're dealing with Charlemagne's vineyard, or you're dealing with, a vineyard that was planted by the Romans, right? Mm-hmm. Here, this was planted by the beautiful proprietors, Ron and Nancy Piazza, who are just exquisite people. They planted this in 1990, and, they planted it with the help from the nuns up at the monastery. I mean, the history of this place is really unique in this world. But I think they had these ideas. And, there's really one Chardonnay block that's behind us here, or in front of us here. Mm-hmm. The rest being Pinot. Over the years, they've been tweaked a little bit. I think there are 2 remaining original blocks that were planted by Ron and Nancy specifically. And when you kind of start a project, that's a beautiful time, because there's really no books written on what you have to do.
Right.
And I think Ron and Nancy looked and they had ideas of the aspect, and they had ideas based on a couple of other vineyards. Actually, the vineyard behind us, Sanford and Benedict, which to me is the other impactful older vineyard, the more historic vineyard, planted in the 70s. So they took some of the cuttings from Richard Sanford, put them here, and a lot of their inferences, a lot of their gut kind of intuition, blind luck, to be fair in some cases, really worked. I think the Chardonnay vineyard right there is one of the finest Chardonnay parcels in the United States, to be fair. I think their Block 4 Pinot, which was the first vineyard block they planted, is arguably one of the finest Pinot Noir vineyards in the United States. And these others that came later are farmed different, they've been planted differently, and everything just kind of works.
It all flows.
Yeah, and I think it speaks a lot, not to be a dorky technical
No, we love this.
dweeb, but you know what, we're standing on a south-facing Santa Rita Hills parcel. So this mountain runs east-west here, and being south-facing, you take in the sun all day. You just in the northern hemisphere, south-facing slope, the sun goes up, the sun goes down. It's facing your slope all day. So these vineyards are just bathed in sunshine year-round, but they're also something that we call refrigerated sunshine, so it just never hot. Until today, to be fair, and it's hot for us, but it's like 65 degrees. So they kind of have that refrigerated sunshine quality where they're sunny, they're pretty cool, so they have a lot of fruit, but they're also really high acid, and they're balanced.
That's amazing. So I'm curious, as a winemaker, you came here, they found you. You mentioned to me that they found you. How'd they find you? And why you?
Why? That's a great question. I won the lottery. No, I've been making wine in this county since 2004. And one of my passions was to find, how would I say this? I think the great winemakers of the world are the people who stay in one place for a very long time and form a relationship with a parcel of land. Because you can't take lessons and transfer them all over the world. To me, you kind of set your feet in one place, you plant your roots, you grow your roots, you develop in a place, and you get to know a vineyard over the course of your lifetime and its lifetime. So I wanted to find a handful of vineyards that I fell in love with, that I believed in, and that I thought could make world-class wines. And I also wanted to find ownership who felt the same way. Someone who wanted to really canonize their piece of land. And Ron and Nancy had that. And this property I've been enamored with since I tasted Greg Brewer and Steve Clifton's versions for this wine from back in the early 2000s. Some of the great ones ever made in Santa Barbara County. So when Ron and Nancy decided that they wanted to start making a little bit of their own juice, they wanted to start keeping some of the grapes for themselves, they contacted me and said, "We tasted your wines, we like what you do, we've heard good things. Are you interested in working?" And I said, "Absolutely." I mean, come on, this is a winemaker's dream to work with an established vineyard like this and to be part of the written history of the place, to take part, to get to get the honor to work and to make wine. And I've been able to make these wines since 12. So for 10 years now. And it's incredible. I learn something new every day.
So this was the dream.
This was the dream. Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got your dream. So now, what's next?
It's all down from here. No. Now it's started. I've set roots where I want to be, and now it's just a question of learning and kind of expanding the relationship and pushing these vineyards while simultaneously listening to what they say. Right? It's a really funny push and pull. I have an idea of what this vineyard could be. This vineyard has an idea of what it is. So there's a constant evolution going on. The vineyard changes every year. Mother Nature throws us a curveball. This is winemaking. I think that we can continue to expand this project. I think we can continue to make it better every year. As good as it has been for Mother Nature giving us this great fruit, I think we can make it better. And I think that's where it goes from here.
It's exciting. Okay. One thing, when I first saw your wines was in Ojai, and, we talk about this a lot, like people, buy with their eyes. They love to, and, they see a great bottle and they're like, we have to have that. When I saw Mail Road, I just love the simplicity of the wine bottle. Was that your decision, or did you have input in that? Or?
No, I was not even in the kitchen.
Really?
No. So there are partners. Ron, Piazza, and Nancy, who planted the vineyard and are the proprietors of this property. And then this really brilliant fellow named Michael Palmer, who also is McConnell's Ice Cream in Santa Barbara.
Oh, great.
Best
I love
ice cream
that.
in the world, just saying.
Never tried it.
Never
So
tried
good.
it?
Oh, the vanilla bean.
I've been to Santa Barbara once, remember?
I'm going to send you some.
Okay.
It's really good.
Overnight it.
What's your ice cream?
My favorite ice cream is coffee ice cream in general.
Of course.
I mean, I've been eating that since I'm a little girl. What
Yeah.
little girl eats coffee ice cream? Doesn't that seem like an odd
You
choice
have to
for
be
a
in
child?
America.
It does, right?
But what was your spot in New York?
Well, so this is in the 1970s. Actually, as a little girl, I also like Rocky Road.
Oh, Rocky Road.
Just fine. As long as it's not gumball ice cream, I'm fine.
Oh, that's
Yes.
awful. But okay, so Baskin Robbins when I was a little girl,
So good.
and Haagen-Dazs. My mom loved Haagen-Dazs.
Yeah.
Her favorite was the vanilla with the chocolate
Chunks.
the chocolate almond thingy.
That's nice. I have no problem with
Okay. And then as I got older, we had like the more of the fancy ice creams in New York, like the big fat gay something or other.
I don't even know, but that
Avenue
sounds
A
amazing.
or
Cool.
B
Yeah.
Street or something. You know?
Sure.
How about you? What's your favorite ice
I
cream?
love McConnell's, no doubt. I love it so much. I'm a fan. It's a biased opinion.
But I will tell you, in Larkspur, we did have this great ice cream place that opened, and it's
Three
closed.
Twins.
No. Well, the Three Twins was in Larkspur.
Saltness.
No, the guy in Larkspur on Magnolia,
Oh, yes.
Keith.
But it was Italian, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Italian. He was like a pastry
Gelato.
chef, and he made this amazing ice cream, and he's closed now, but it was awesome. Best ice cream ever. He's closed now.
Oh, great. You could have told me
Anyway.
that when we were very close.
Okay, well, sorry.
I'll get you some McConnell's.
Yeah.
All
My
righty.
kids-
Okay, back to wine now.
But
Back
no,
to
the
wine.
ice cream is equally as important.
So
It
the
is.
the
Music,
label.
ice cream, and wine. The label was Michael Palmer is this really wonderful character. To know him is to love him. He's a piece of work, and he is a brilliant marketing mind. He's a great butterfat guy, as he calls himself with ice cream. But he came up with this really simple, pure label, and I think the label fits this site because people want to talk about the winemaking and what we do that makes the wine so great. Almost nothing. I mean, we're very diligent. We pay a ton of attention. We farm. We focus out here, which is the most important part. But this vineyard has such a pronounced, loud, exquisite voice. You know, it's I don't know, it's like directing a phenomenal actor. It's like, you know, do your thing, right? This grape does its thing. And so Michael kind of paid homage to that with this really pure, simple label. Like it's clean, it's modern, but it just speaks to the nature of this project, which is not a lot of bells and whistles of production. It's not a lot of, we use these barrels and we use this kind of stainless and we use these eggs. It's just
It's
you
beautiful.
pick it when it's right. We
Simplistic.
ferment it dry. We put it in bottle and we stick that simple label on it. You open it and it's anything but simple. Right? I
Absolutely.
love the message there.
Totally.
And that's Michael Palmer
Amazing.
and Tom Stanley, who's also a phenomenal designer.
So I'm curious. I've gone to a couple wineries recently in, what's it called?
Napa.
No.
St. Helena.
No, on the other side.
Sonoma.
Tasmania?
No, not Tasmania. Oh my God, near Healdsburg. What's that?
Sonoma. You're like Geyserville or
Okay, well, in any case,
Guerneville?
Russian River?
no, they were biodynamic. Though was my question.
Yes.
So I'm
Awesome.
curious what your thoughts are on, biodynamic wine and the differences and how your wine compares and why people choose to make biodynamic and
That's
where
awesome.
you guys fit in there.
Yeah, I love it. While I don't agree with all the tenets of biodynamic farming, I think overall, if someone's going to tell me that they're farming biodynamic because they think it's a system that works and they're going to follow it, then I support that wholeheartedly. Just from the standpoint that that's someone who cares about the long-term soil health and general environmental health of their vineyard. I think it's wonderful. And I think as a consumer too, it's a wonderful thing to see on a label, and I get it. There are going to be less inputs that are questionable. There are going to be a more pure form of farming. There's going to be things that are followed that should make it, in essence, a more pure expression of a site and a more pure product. So again, I love it. And I think it's really funny. This part of the world, especially facing south in the Santa Rita Hills, the wind blows off the ocean. But the wind blows and it's sunny all the time and it dries out quickly. So there really isn't a need to farm conventionally here. It's pretty low input. There's not a lot of pests, knock on wood. There's not a lot of things that keep us from being pure in our farming and being essential in the sense that we really only spray what we need to spray. We're not doing excessive things. It just wouldn't make money. To the sense that you would actually lose money on the project if you felt the need to farm irresponsibly. So we're really blessed. We don't follow the biodynamic principles yet. Might we try and see? Sure, why not? Shoot a trial. Why not? I love it. But you do see a lot of that in the market. You see a lot of people going organic, which is fantastic. Anybody who cares
And
anybody who actually gives anyone who gives a shit about the farming and the way they're doing things, I support wholeheartedly and tip my hat, because we are all in this together. And
so what are your core values around your farming?
This place is a magical spot, and this place needs to be here, and this place needs to have a future, right? I like the term canonization. Like, we are here to canonize this place. Like, we know what this site has in it, the potential. We know what this site can do, and we want to do it now. We're able to make the wines today because the vines are still thriving and they're beautiful. But long term, how can we keep this going? How can we keep this on top of its game? And I think we're doing a good job with it. We're starting to refresh some of the older vines in Block 6. We're starting to look at ways to keep them longer, try to get them to 40 years, to 50 years. It's not easy on diatomaceous earth, but...
What was your favorite vintage in the last few years?
Oh, God. Such a good question. We're in California. Again, it's such a pleasure to talk to a New Zealand friend. I remember making wine in New Zealand, and it would rain 8 inches during harvest, right? And frogs would fall from the sky, and blood would flow in the rivers, and all my friends would be like, "Yeah, it should be right."
So Kiwi.
Yeah, so Kiwi.
way.
But here, it rains for a quarter of an inch during harvest, and everyone's pulling their hair out and running around screaming. We've been really blessed and really kind of spoiled as California vintners. I don't think we've had a bad one. The 2012 is one that sticks out to me because I was so nervous because I knew.
Wait, red or white? Are we talking? Are you just saying in general?
Even vintage, great question. But I think just the vintage, and I didn't know what to expect, and I was so nervous because I felt this was a ton of responsibility for all of us to take this place on. This is hallowed ground for me, and it was a fairly wonderful, peaceful vintage. It was a sun vintage. It was hot, and the wines I remember in the ferment were just, the Pinot was black but fresh, and the Chardonnay we made was just so crystal pure, and it was just a magical vintage. I remember finally being like, okay, we can do this. We can figure this out, And I would say,
nerve-wracking to think, what it comes out and it's terrible.
Yeah, we're like chefs that make dinner once a year as winemakers, right? You make a wine a year, but I think that would be one, and the other would be probably last year was really exceptional. I also would say 20, which was a very difficult vintage, but this site showed its pedigree and showed its kind of its strengths, and it made exceptional wine in a vintage that was, for California standards, a challenge.
Right. Amazing.
Awesome.
Did you get affected by the Thomas fire?
I was just about to ask the same question.
we
or how that affected the wine, even.
We did not. No.
Didn't touch this far.
Didn't touch this far, but it was close. And then last year we had that picture perfect vintage, and there was a fire just right over there, and we just watched it every day, no, we're so close. And we made great wines. It missed us. Long-term California, are we going to deal with fires? Yeah, probably. And so we're starting to put that in our plan, and like anything else, just.
Has that affected any of your vintages of the?
It has not. No,
okay.
No.
As a winemaker, I'm just curious. How do you plan for that, or how have you? Because I'm sure you've tasted wines that have been affected by it, right?
Of
course, right?
Yeah, of course.
So how does that affect them in general?
It has so many different effects. It can cause so many problems, from just smelling a campfire in a glass, which is not especially attractive,
right?
Depending on your pairing and your sensibility to smoke, to just being a wine that doesn't show fruit, to being a wine that from a site that is exquisite, and just saying, oh wow, it's not
right.
It's good, but something's a little off. It runs that whole spectrum, the whole gamut of offenses, but. As growers and as caretakers of really special properties, it's something that's in our mind. And I think it goes in the way we farm, it goes into the way we pick, it goes into the way we look at future plantings.
I was going to say, how do you prepare for it? Is there a way to deal with it? If there's a fire coming, no?
We're blessed to work with a really remarkable vineyard team who's able to get it off the vines quickly, which is all
that's all you can do.
And then we can plan for the future. We could pick varieties to put in here or clones of Pinot and Chardonnay. That's really all that's planted here that ripen a little earlier, so that maybe we can get it off a week earlier. Or
got it. Okay.
We're doing our best. But it's, every industry is dealing with the difference in climate, and every industry is kind of having to tweak the way that they approach their work, and it's just part of daily life now. It's really kind of scary.
Yeah,
it's something we accept. But
Where do you mostly sell to restaurants, or do you sell I know you sell in Ojai, but what is your model? Is it online, door to door?
We're so small.
Door to door.
Door to
We're
door.
so door to door. We really.
I had mine
I think
delivered.
basically,
Kind of the way
where
they used to sell
would people
encyclopedias.
find
There we go.
your wine if they wanted to buy it?
Yes, thank you.
I wish we had a door-to-door method. That would be. I actually might take that. I'm going to work on that tonight. But Drew Daigle really does that. Beautiful Drew. We're so small. That's the 17 Chard. That was
That's
5
delicious.
barrels.
Wow.
So that's 125 cases. This Pinot was a 17 Pinot. I think we made 8 barrels, so 200 cases. So there's not a lot of it to go around. So most of it is sold through our website, direct to consumers. We have a couple of markets that we love. California, we want it to be in restaurants so that people can grab it there, and our friends know where to find it. Like San Isidro Ranch is a great friend to us. They've been pouring our wines for years. One of the great spots in Santa Barbara. There are a couple of big accounts like that we really work closely with. We have markets like in Tennessee. We have a market in Colorado. We have a handful of places that we really work with. But most of it, again, goes through the mailing list. It's just tiny.
Is it a membership? It's not a membership.
It is you get on the wine list and you basically get your offering every year.
Got it. Yeah. Awesome. Well, this is such a great conversation. I'm so pleased to have learned about your wines and about your whole journey.
Yeah. No, it's a pleasure to
What
talk
can we
about.
expect to see from you guys in the future? Or from you, personally?
We're starting to make sparkling off of this property.
Okay.
From that little block behind us here, or over there on block 6. I think you can expect to see kind of a continued evolution of this property through its wines. I think they're just getting better and better and better. We'll probably increase production slightly. I'm not talking like tens of thousands of cases, but hey, maybe one day we make 400 cases.
And since you've been here for how many years now?
10 years.
You're going to be here for another 20, 30 years because this is your property, your land now. And as a winemaker, what I learned in this conversation is that you're going to stick with your land.
I would be so honored. Look, if I had my druthers, to use an old-fashioned saying,
right.
I would be. I love the long-term relationship. I love that I'm going to mature as this vineyard matures with me.
Right.
And there are things that I learned about a vineyard every year with the same site, and from just watching the way these vines wake up, watching the way these vines photosynthesize, watching their metabolism, watching the little rhythms that happen in any given vineyard. I think that's the real beauty of winemaking, is that you get to spend your life with vineyards. And for me, I'm very monogamous with my vineyard relationships, in that I want to spend my time with this vineyard that I believe so dearly in, and a couple of others that I believe in. And again, that I found owners that feel the same way.
Given you plan to spend the rest of your life here,
Yes.
what's the big goal here? What do you want to get out of this place, or what do you foresee that you want to do here?
I think short term, there are a couple of vineyards that need to be kind of assessed, and maybe we need to replant sections. And I want to kind of get it off on its right foot so that everything's in its right place and all of the vineyards are being maximized. I think it would be really fun to make a little Syrah. You didn't hear that from me on video. And I think that over time, the shift between Pinot and Chard will probably come more into equilibrium. I think there are a couple sites here that maybe are Chardonnay sites, not Pinot. So those would be little tweaks over time, but I'd like to see the soil health improve. I'd like to see the vine health improve. They're little things. They're not giant.
There's no big dream. There's no big I'd love to do this.
I'd love to do this. Yeah, I'd love to keep making this wine. This is the wine. Yeah,
that's the dream.
I would say this. As a winemaker, it's really a blessing in any craft, in any profession. If you can make a living making a product that you love, right? That you want to drink, or that you want to look at, or that you want to be a part of, or music you want to listen to. It doesn't get better than that.
I totally agree. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. So lovely to talk to you all.
Cheers.
So great.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
So
Awesome.
Cheers.
To find out more about this episode of Essential Ingredients and access show notes, check out Next Gen Chef and choose podcast in the menu bar. If you like this episode,
head to iTunes or Next Gen Chef's YouTube channel to subscribe. Learn more about Next Gen Chef, the platform that powers this podcast, by checking out our website, or visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Next Gen Chef. You can also check out my Instagram at Justine_Reichman. If you have thoughts about this episode or future episode ideas, leave us a comment at Next Gen Chef's YouTube channel or drop an email at team@nextgenchef.com. Thanks for joining us.